central city of Onitsha comes Udala Radio 104.7 FM, the voice of the region, where authentic news and entertainment meet. Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
When politics unfolds, when decisions are made, we reveal the impact. Welcome to The Polity, your deep dive into the forces shaping governance, policies, and power. From the halls of government.
You were there. I was not there. Check the record. Wait now. You were there. I was not there.
To the voices of the people.
We are suffering. This suffering is too much. It's too much. Look at the students. There's no job. They finish school. There's no job for them.
We analyze the undercurrents, expose the intrigues, and break down the narratives that define our democracy. Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki, delivering razor-sharp, and Ibuka Franklin and Chisom on the question wheel, driving the conversation. We bring you the most compelling discussions on governance, policies, and power plays. Stay informed, stay engaged, stay ahead. The Polity, every weekdays at 9:15 a.m. Exclusive on Udala 104.7 FM Onitsha.
Okay, it's 17 minutes past 9 a.m. and you are listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Welcome to the Polity Wednesday edition. It's Ash Day, or rather Ash Wednesday edition, 18th day of February 2026. And today also happens to be the commencements of Ramadan. So, to everyone following us, of course, we wish you well on this very day. My name is Frank Nebek, and we're saying welcome to the Polity, where we'll bring you headlines from different newspapers and bring you analysis on the topical developments in Nigeria. And this very morning, I'm with Tony Lisambeki on the analysis desk. He's going to offer insight into the issues we are going to raise this very morning on this very program. Tony, good morning.
Good morning to you, Franklin. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, the Anambra. Good morning, the Onitsha Donido. Good morning, the Osumo. Good morning, the Nazwafia, the Oluaka, the Oluoyibo. Good morning, everyone, under the reach of our voice. Good morning, the Otu Christi. And also good morning to our brothers who are Muslims. Because just like we said, Ramadan is also starting today. It's all about fasting and prayers. Period. AJ Bono, AJ more people. But we're going to talk much about that. We thank God Almighty for His mercy, for His grace, for keeping us alive, for everything He keeps doing in our life. We are grateful. We are very, very appreciative of that. Without Him, we know very well this day wouldn't have come. Well, we give Him all the glory and praise. You are welcome. Sit back and enjoy the program.
Okay, I'll sit back just like Tony told you because we have a lot this very morning. And just like we have mentioned, of course, if you're going to check out what is trending this very morning, of course, Ramadan and Lent, they are trending because two of them, for the very first time in 112 years or more than that, they are commencing on the same day. And people are saying it holds some significance for the life of Nigeria. Away from that very one, we'll talk about what is happening here in Anambra State. Yes, yesterday, the Anambra State House of Assembly made a move that might see Honorable Bernard Udemeze being recalled for suspension because yesterday the Speaker of the House gave the House Committee on Ethics the mandate for them to review his suspension so that they can then see whether he is due to be recalled to the House or not. Don't forget that in November last year, he was suspended for additional 3 months for his inability to comply with the demands by the Assembly. Of course, away from that very one, you get to see development for the National Assembly yesterday. Of course, he's getting some reactions. No thanks to what happened yesterday. The two chambers of the National Assembly, of course, they tried to undo Nigerians. The very first one was that the House of Reps tried to rescind its decision on the Electoral Amendment Bill. Then the Senate also did its own, but eventually, two of them seem to have adopted the same thing when it comes to transmission of result and then manual backup. There were rowdy sessions in both chambers of the National Assembly yesterday. Some persons staged a walkout, and that was in the House of Reps. But in the Senate, there was also a rowdy session. The likes of Engineer Biri and Co. They were on the news yesterday. Then what happened yesterday to put Deputy Speaker of the House of Reps, Honorable Benjamin Kalu, in the spotlight based on what he did yesterday when he was trying to make the House members to adopt clause by clause of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. So all of them are trending. Then he talked about other developments that you can cite in the paper. Yesterday there was a monarch from Enugu State. He made a call on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to reason on the Kano, and he made that very call right there before Mr. President, because President was at that meeting of the of traditional rulers, and he called on the President to do the needful. And guess what? I saw Mr. President laughing in that very video. Maybe when we have time, we'll be able to bring you all this development today on this very policy. So it promises to be exciting. We ask you to stay with us as we begin to look at the headlines on the paper this morning.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, thank you for staying tuned to the Radio 104.7 FM. It's 22 minutes past 9 a.m. and you are listening to The Polity. My name is Franklin Ebika, and I'm with Tony Olisambeki, who is on the analysis front. So we're going to begin with the headlines we have on the papers. Four of them. We have Nigerian Tribune, Guardian, Vanguard, and the Punch newspapers. We begin with the headlines we have on Nigerian Tribune, which has been in existence since 1949. It's been a long time. Okay, so the big story here says Electoral Amendment Bill, Senate in division, Reps in rowdy session. That story can be found on page 4. It has a rider as lawmakers pass each transmission with manual backup. Minority reps walk out on session as Green Chamber reduces timeline on notice of election to 300 days. INEC to review election timetable to exclude Ramadan period. Another headline says how our Catholic Church terrorist attack was planned, executed, DSS witness tells court. That story can be found on page 16. Nigeria loses 8 trillion naira yearly to concession waivers. Reps. That story is on page 16. Prioritize investment in human capital to drive $1 trillion ambition, World Bank tells Nigeria. That story can be found on page 13 of the Nigerian Tribune. El Rufai spent second day in EFCC custody. That story is on page 4. And I tell you that maybe this could be the beginning of more days he can spend, or he could spend in EFCC custody, because I see EFCC going to court to procure a remand order. I see that happening. NADDC commissions automotive training center in Potiskum. That story is on page 13. It has a rider. Concludes mechatronics training in PMS CNG vehicles. Chaos as Ondo APC meeting turns bloody. The story is on page 3. It has a rider. Hoodlums disrupt meeting, beat party chairman, injure other leaders. Government deny thuggery allegation. Reaffirms commitment to peaceful politics. Another story says Sultan confirms moon sighting, declares today first day of Ramadan. That story is on page 28 of Nigerian Tribune. Then we go over to the Guardian newspaper, and the biggest story there says electoral reform crisis. 2027 elections take shape as APC majority prevails. Legal tussle looms. That story is on page 6. If you look at that very front page, you will see what has been posted. That is it's like a table telling you what has changed in the Electoral Act. Now it says Electoral Bill 2026, what has changed. In the course of the program, we're going to tell you what has changed in this very amendment. Another headline says Niger residents flee to Benin Republic as terrorists invade Borgu again. That story is on page 3. I think it was 2 days ago that the governor of Niger State and his counterpart in Kwara State, they came together saying that they are going to forge a common front so that they can fight banditry and terrorism across the borderline. I hope that they get to make that to work. Remi Tinubu seeks prayers for Nigeria as Lent Ramadan begin. Check page 2 of The Guardian. Zamfara governor alleges exclusion from FG support over party affiliation. That story is on page 3. Terrorists kill 4 in Kogi Plateau attacks. You can see that story on page 20. Experts raise alarm over drug use surge in Nigeria. Others. The story is on page 5. Other headline says hoodlums invade, disrupt APC stakeholders meeting in Ondo. That's on page 7. 1,000 Lagos police officers benefit from Songolu's free eye care initiative. That story can also be found on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. And we cross over to the Vanguard. So on Vanguard newspaper, we have this headline that says manufacturers agri sector face up to 60% interest rate. It's on page 19. Release Kanu or return him to Kenya. Southeast monarch tells Tinubu. The story is on page 13. And it has a rider, no equivalence between Kanu Iboho presidency. Lent Ramadan begin today. The story is on page 6. Tinubu, Trump, Harris, others mourn as U.S. civil rights leader Jesse Jackson dies at 84. Okay. 2027. Reps cave in, back Senate on Electoral Act amendment. The story is on page 5. It has riders. Minority caucus stage workout over adoption of manual electronic transmission of results. Police tear gas protesters at NAS. Labour, civil society demand mandatory e-transmission. Senate reduces election notice to 300 days to enable INEC adjust timetable. Amaechi, opposition leaders merely grandstanding Wike. Tinubu unveils Nigeria industrial policy, demands speedy implementation. That story is on page 9 of Vanguard newspaper. Another story here on the front page says Dangote signs $400 million equipment deal to fast-track refinery expansion. It's on page 19. Armed men abduct 6 travelers on Makurdi Naka Road, demand 100 million naira ransom. Page 6. Nigeria, others ignore our judgment. ECOWAS court laments. That story is on page 9. And we go over to the Punch before we begin analysis. Okay, I'll look at the headlines on Punch newspaper. We begin with the big story, which is 2027 elections. Lawmakers protest as NAS okays e-transmission manual backup. That story is on page 2. It has a rider that says outrage as Abaribe leads 14 senators in protest. Minority reps walk out. Above the nameplate, cash crunch. Ministers lament as 10 trillion naira capital fund stalls. The story is on page 9. Nigeria loses 1.76 trillion naira after missing OPEC quota. The story is on page 22. Another story says 432 billion naira. 432 billion naira probe. EFCC extends El-Rufai detention as lawyer pushes for bail. That story is on page 7. France faces new flood nightmare as waters surge. You see the picture story, how some places in France have been submerged by flood. Ramadan Lent begin today across the globe. Page 7. Ondo APC chair beaten as party meeting erupts in chaos. That story is on page 8. And another story we have on the front page of the Punch says NU PRC moves to end crude theft with first meeting facility. That story is on page 22. And with that, we end the headlines we have on the front pages of the paper as we brought you this very morning. So next is was to delve into the analysis. We ask you to stay with us as we begin in a jiffy. Okay, thank you for staying tuned to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. You are listening to The Polity. My name is Franklin Ebikan, and I'm with Tony Olisambeki, who is on the analysis desk. So we begin today's conversation by looking at the commencement of Lent and Ramadan. Tony, like I said, for the first time in over 100 years, we have Lent and Ramadan commencing on the same day, and people are asking if there is any significance to this. And interestingly, the two periods or the two seasons in these two different religions, of course, they're talking about almost the same thing. Prayer, fasting, charity, reflection, and what have you not. For the Christians, is the beginning of 40 days and 40 nights of Lent, which represent Jesus Christ's time in the desert, trying to prepare for his ministry, where he took time to resist temptation and what have you not. So this commencement, this overlap, or let's say not even overlap, let's say this coincidence, is it of any significance? And for Nigerians, what can they take out from these very seasons?
Just like you said, it is of great significance, if you ask me. I tried to check records, and I understand that it has been many centuries ago. What does that tell you? We've not had such coincidence for the first time, and we must draw something out of it. We must draw something out of it. I'm aware that Lent developed gradually in the early church as Christians prepared spiritually for Easter. Easter is the most momentous period in the lives of every Christian. Is the most revered period. The reason for Christmas is because of Easter. That is the reason Christ came to this world, and he has to come in human flesh, and that was how we have Christmas. And we know very well that, like I said earlier on, for those who listen to Biri program, Easter dates, or it takes its roots to the early centuries after Christ had his 40 days fasting and prayers. He fasted for 40 days and nights as well. I'm aware that over time it was structured around the 4th century AD. I'm talking about the history now behind Easter. I remember the Council of Nicaea, which was held around 325 AD. That was the time the church standardized many practices connected with Easter, and the period of fasting before Easter became more widely organized. The Council of Nicaea in the year 325 AD. That was 4th century. It was the period everything about Lent was standardized. In fact, at that period, Lent came to begin on Ash Wednesday and last about 40 days, excluding Sundays, in compliance with the Matthew chapter 4 verse 2. But if you talk about Ramadan, we understand that Ramadan, Islam came later on after Christianity. There's no doubt about that. We know Ramadan started around 7th century. That was when Ramadan started. Lent started 4th century after the Council of Nicaea, as I mentioned earlier on. And during the lifetime of Prophet Muhammad, the fast became obligatory. That was around 624 AD. 624 AD. In the Islamic calendar, it's called 2AH in the Islamic calendar. That was when Muslims migrated from Mecca to Medina. And if you look at Islamic tradition, the tradition holds that during Ramadan, the first revelations of the Quran were given, and fasting from dawn to sunset was commanded as an act of worship, discipline, and also charity. In fact, Ramadan has been observed every year according to the lunar calendar, starting from 624 AD. So in summary, if you can understand that the Lent took shape early in Christianity, becoming widely established by the Council of Nicaea, as I mentioned earlier on, Ramadan taking its own route from the movement of Muslims from Mecca to Medina. And we know the spiritual symbolism of this. We are just giving out the history, how it started. Now we are talking about the spiritual connections to this. And at the same time, the coincidence after many centuries ago. One thing we can draw from this is when Christ fasted for 40 days, he was preparing himself up for his ministry, his earthly ministry. His mission was to save mankind, to bring souls to God, to bring souls to heaven. And he knew, if you go to the book of Isaiah, some of these things were foretold in many ways. Most times, I know this, for Catholics, Stations of the Cross will begin this Friday. And if you look at the whole stations, you can understand that any of them, it will remind you what was foretold in the book of Isaiah. That proclaims some of these things. That this, in fact, it was one of the sessions we had one period, and we are told at a particular time the curtain at the temple tore into two. And it reflected what was foretold in the book of Isaiah. And that thing has a spiritual significance. What it means, access to God is now to everybody. Not just for Jews or Gentiles, everybody. So the point is, we must draw something to this. The coincidence over many centuries is uncommon in every sense. And we are privileged to witness such coincidence. And one thing we must take on for sure is the spiritual importance. Is the time to spiritually fortify ourselves. The idea of repentance, forgiveness, charity, some of these things are things that go with both Lent and Ramadan. These are things that always removes our sins before God. As humans we are mortals. We make mistakes. But compassion should be the lead. If you look at so many commandments of God, love your neighbor as you love thyself, love your God first and love your neighbor. And that is the grand commandment. We saw Moses giving 10 commandments. We've seen different commandments, but he told us that that is the grand commandment, because if you love your God and love your neighbor, the world will be out of some of these evils. But Nigerians, we are deeply spiritual, but we are the most corrupt. Some of these things are said in lips. We don't imbibe all these things. We do these things as those who are acting drama scripts. We've been given this role. You have been given that role. Go and perform this. Yes, I've seen ashes on the forehead of many Christians. The question is, how do we internalize this in the lives we live, in the life of the next person? I've told many people over time, it's not about being religious. The most important thing is, what is your relationship with your neighbors, your friends? That is the most important thing. It behoves on every Christian, every practitioner, to show love. And that love mustn't be when you go to church. There are those, I'm not downplaying issue of church, but if you live a life of loving your God and man, is much more better than when you go to church and you behave as if you don't have any neighbor. Church is a way of bringing us more close to God. It's not making us to be those that will discriminate. We've seen discriminations from those who are churchgoers. They discriminate because they see themselves as holier. That's what they see themselves. They see other people as the sinners. And in their acts, in their words, in the way they behave, they discriminate. But let me say this. We've seen many saints who have come and gone. And we've seen the lives they lived while they were here on earth. The only thing I will say is, as Nigerians, it's an uncommon period in history. Lent, Ramadan, starting the same day, just like I said earlier on. There are different names one can call these things. There are those who are from different parts of the country. In Igbo here, we call it Emume Ebumono no Pipia. That's what we call it. Lent is an English word. Like I said in the morning. Anybody can, there are names everybody give to it. So even if those names you give to it might not be the name as encapsulated in the scriptures, it does not invalidate it. We must live what we preach. I don't believe in preaching what we don't live out. We must practice whatever we preach. If you look around, corruption everywhere, people are miserable, poverty everywhere, people impoverished, Nigerians groaning, and even those who most times we call on the leaders, even those who are at different markets, people try to cut corners, to change others, to make gains, infiltrations, fake products, in many things. So many of these products sold as original. Human beings are the ones doing this, and these are people who may have ash on their forehead, who may not have ash on their forehead. Does that teach us anything? Can this make us to change from our bad ways? The only thing I'm going to tell everyone listening to us, let this year Lent be a turning point where we change from these bad things we do, this bad service we cause to humanity, this disservice we give to humanity. Let us change from those things and live a life worthy of emulation, that which we please God.
Okay, just to add to what you said, because like I mentioned before, that this Lenten period is like a reminiscence of what Christ did when he was on earth before he began his earthly ministry, where he fasted for 40 days and 40 nights in preparation for that very ministry. Of course, saw how he was tempted by the devil and he resisted. In fact, there was even an opportunity for him to show that he was actually the Christ, but he refused to obey the devil and got prepared. And for us now who are Christians, of course, look at what they tell you that the Lenten period teaches. It talks about fasting, prayer, reflection, charity, and what have you not. And like we have highlighted that, many Christians have gone to the church this very morning to get the symbolic ash on their forehead, which of course we know signify that you are nothing, just like a sign of repentance, just like what to try to do on Biri to tell you how the issue of ash came. Ash is just like a sign of repentance. You are being remorseful for what you have done and what have you not. But we're saying that beyond these symbolisms, beyond all these physical things we do, how do we internalize all these things and ensure that they get to reflect in our lives? And after the very Lenten period, do we just go back to our original way, our usual ways, and live our life as if not happened? Or after the Lenten period, you begin to live out all these things on daily basis in your life? I know that some persons are going to abstain from, alcohol, meat, soda, what have you, within this very period. Or they'll tell you, oh, like I have a friend that told me last year that she was going to abstain from taking one brand of alcohol for the entire Lent. I said, okay, oh, you're just going to abstain within the Lent. Then after Lent, what happens? I said, I will continue. I said, well, I don't know what that means to you, but for me, what I think is, if you can give up anything during Lenten period, you can as well give it up after the Lent, if that thing is not actually good for you. But if you are trying to give up just to, for the time, for you to build your spiritual journey, of course, we get to understand. But what I'm saying in essence is, beyond the rituals, beyond the symbolism, beyond the preachings, beyond all the calls, all the messages, all the letters we get from our leaders asking us to pray, fast, reflect, do charity, and do all these things, let them not just be things that are going to end with the Lenten period and then we go back to our original ways and live as if there's no reason for existence.
Just like you said, we always keep preaching this because Lent has its own spiritual significance. You can give up anything. It mustn't be that the ones we mentioned here. It is deep, spiritual life for Christians. Why fasting? People would ask this question: why do people fast? The idea of fasting is to give less to what your flesh wants. so that your spiritual connectivity with God will be strengthened. And Christ fasted, and during that fasting he was tempted. When you fast, when you are spiritually strong, you avoid temptations. Temptations generally will come as mortals as we are, but the ability to avoid temptations is rested in Holy Spirit, who gives us strength, and your flesh as well supports such strength by the fact that you deny your flesh some of these excesses. I call these things excesses. That is the essence of fasting. It will help you to defeat every form of temptation. You know, sometimes when we talk politics, we always say that lead us not into temptation is much more advantageous than deliver us from all evil. We do say these things politically. You remember how we say these things. But the key thing is we must imbibe every teaching of Lent now and forever. It should be not now and after Lent. No. It should be live now and forever. You must give up certain comforts or habits, not as punishment, but as a way of creating space for prayer, generosity, compassion toward others. Also, we must emphasize the need for you to pray. But I keep saying this: as you pray, you work. It's important. Being spiritual is good. Being religious is good. But let it not envelope or cloud your sense of reasoning. Remember, some philosophers will tell you religion is the opium of the people. Religion should not in any way gag you, but rather purifies whatever you do. It should be more like as a purifier. I have said it many times here. Most people who are deeply religious are the most corrupt people. They are religious outwardly, not internally. They try to show it out. We must remember the vulnerable, the less privileged, those who do not have. We must do charity. These are things God likes. Humanity likes that. You see the connection between God and humanity likes that. Giving out, showing love, being our brother's keeper in every sense. We must help our society.
Okay, so let's round off this with a charge which was given to Christians by the Catholic Pontiff, talking about Pope Leo XIV. He said, or he urged Christians to abstain from words that offend and hurt others during this period. He said this might be underappreciated, but it means a whole lot in the life of a Christian in a bid for you to live and live amongst others. Apart from the issue of the prayer, the almsgiving, he said abstain from hurtful words, because sometimes you talk to people, you murder them by the words of your mouth without you knowing.
That's the point. Sometimes there are things we say these things as either banters, tantrum, jibes, but we don't know how hurtful those things are to the next person we are directing those statements to. And sometimes when someone tells you, I'm offended by your statement, or even if the person did not tell you that, you look at the person and you feel that the person seems to be offended by your statement, please retract and possibly apologize. There are those that will tell you, oh, if uncle newegiwe, if uncle or if uncle, if we. You don't tell somebody what possibly we and what possibly we. People are wired differently. So for the fact that you notice that even if good morning becomes hurtful to somebody, even when you know that good morning means war, the moment you notice that good morning is hurtful to the person, and possibly try to say, oh, sorry, I don't mean to hurt you. Look at what happened last night during Benfica and Real Madrid game. The game was halted for over 10 minutes, where it was noticed that Argentine, after Vinicius Jr. had scored that wonderful goal, probably the celebration he did at the corner flag was not something many could swallow. Football, emotions, these things are flowing. We saw the Argentine closing his mouth and making certain statements, which Vinicius Jr. in that game notified the referee, and immediately notified the referee. The referee, in accordance with compliance with FIFA rule that started since 2024, stopped the game for 10 minutes, and after that the game continued. Two things happened there. The celebration, according to some people, was hurtful to the Argentine guy. Then he descended into statement banned in football. Statement that the football had always, and even now, the football over time has been trying to eradicate from the history. Racism. Very hurtful. Very hurtful. And look at the football war. Statements, Twitter, everything flying. So, in line with Pope Leo, refrain from statements that could be hurtful to the next person. You don't tell the person which one will be hurtful to him or not.
Okay. So let's now get to Anambra State, because yesterday during plenary at Anambra State House Assembly Complex in Oka, the Speaker of the House requested the House Committee on Rules, Ethics and Privileges, headed by the Majority Leader who is representing the Pusigo, Honorable Ikenna Ofodeme, and to review the suspension which was handed down on the member representing Ayamelin constituency, talking about Honorable Bernard Udemezo. We know that he has been on suspension for a while now, I think going to 6 months now. He was first suspended, I think that was in August. Yes, that was on August 28, 2025. He was first suspended because the House believed that he got involved in unparliamentary activities, and he was suspended. Then by November last year, I think November 26, he got additional 3 months. Don't forget that in that November, he showed up for budget presentation, and he was suspended again, given another 3 months. But now, the Speaker has given the committee to review his suspension, look at his suspension, see whether he has complied with all the conditions given to him or not, so that the House will now know whether to recall him or not. So, Tony, what do you see happening?
All right. For me, they should call the young man back. He has shown some signs that whatever he was under the influence seems to have left him a bit. Trying to be speculative, I'm not too sure, but it was a case of youthful exuberance. Just like we talk about the young Chiemere who used pistol on the master. Was it not yesterday we were talking about it? And I did say that drug is a bad substance, and when people behave under the influence of drug, they lose any sense of judgment. And sometimes the mistakes made within that period or within that interval usually is colossal. The damages.
Did you see his video 2 days ago where he said,
I'm not, sometimes even the video in question I did not see. Because for me, governance is not about drama. Maybe I didn't see the video you talked about. He's begging for forgiveness, asking Isi Epegompe. Is that a way of also validating whatever I'm saying? That there was a time Isi believe, and the only thing that can make you for your Isi your head to be to swell up will be when you're under some influence of substance. I'm not saying he is, but the attitudes he depicted point to one thing. It was as if he was under the influence of anything. We must tell ourselves the truth. Sometimes we don't like telling ourselves the truth. When he was doing this, there were those who were backing him, asking him, go on. And when I was making this, they were also saying, why must you say this? Everything or most positions I have maintained in most matters have been always vindicated. I've always been vindicated. Because for me, I see myself as an elder statesman. There are things sometimes we reason out of emotion, out of our affiliation to one thing, whatever I believe in, any cause I believe in. most times I go as much as possible to prove it to people. This course is something believable. I must have done my research. I must have done my homework. You don't just because you don't like somebody, you don't like the way the person behaves. Whenever the person does anything good, you try to whitewash it or sweep it aside because you don't like his kind of politics. No. You must say he has done this, but in the other one you don't like, you can also point it out. So the young man, I'm saying that they should bring him back. He must have learned from his lessons. And let me say this, whatever he has done is a dent to his political career. And I know he doesn't care. He doesn't care, and it will not affect the chances you to have. They are good ones. We've seen some of these mayors who are leaving. Many of them did exceedingly well. I don't want to mention the names. They are youth. So because of one misdeed of a particular youth, generalize that the youths are not ready. For me, the works done by some of these local government mayors, many of them, they are in their early 30s, some early 40s. This young man I know, he is one of those in his early 30s. We must always surround ourselves with elders who will always speak wisdom to us. Most of us, wisdom is very, very important in whatever we do. Wisdom. And wisdom sometimes is not something you go to invest and acquire. It's much more bigger than knowledge.
Okay. So from what we know, that additional 3 months suspension, which was handed down on him on November 26, 2025, is going to end by 26th of February 2026. So in a matter of days, we're now going to watch the space to see whether the House is going to recall him from that very suspension, or if any other action is going to be taken. So Tony, let's move over to proper politics now. Talking about what happened yesterday at the floor of the National Assembly. The National Assembly, the two chambers reconvened. They cut short their recess because they wanted to look into the issues arising from that very timetable for 2027 general election, which was released by INEC. And when the House reconvened yesterday, of course, it also took time to look into the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. The House began first because it has tried to rescind its decision on electronic transmission. Don't forget that the House passed e-transmission in real time, and in fact, the way many Nigerians wanted it. Senate passed something quite different. But yesterday, two of them were able to come to a harmony, and they agreed on e-transmission and then manual backup. That same yesterday, when this was going on, there was a protest happening in front of the complex by civil society, who were demanding that all they need is e-transmission in real time and what have you not. But at the end of the day, we have seen what happened. So maybe by the time you begin your analysis, we'll be able to reflect all those things that happened. We also saw Biri begin repeating what he did the first time. In fact, there was even a call for division, and votes were taken. In fact, people who were in for e-transmission with manual backup, they were asked to raise their hands, and I think about 800 of them took the day. Then those who were against, I think about 15 of them raised their hands, and the majority, they had it. But the dramas and what have you not that happened yesterday, they were speaking to certain things in our politics. But beyond what has been in the front burner, which is the e-transmission, let me just highlight other things that happened yesterday. Like looking at the Electoral Act, the National Assembly introduced some changes. I'm going to highlight all of them now before we begin the analysis. Now, the issue of election funding. If you look at the new provision is saying that election fundings must be released to INEC at least 6 months before the general election. Previously, it was 12 months. So what it now means is that INEC will now have a shorter time or shorter timeline, to prepare for this election, which in any way it might affect INEC's financial independence or long-term planning. Then the issue of what should be IDs for voter registration, that is identity that somebody can use for voter registration. Now, what they added in the new Electoral Act is the fact that someone can be identified with a birth certificate, Nigerian passport, or NIN. So, if you have national ID card, driver's license, these things have been removed from IDs you can use to register as a voter in Nigeria. The another one is downloadable voter cards. Voter cards can now be downloaded, voters can now download their voter card from INEC's website. So what it simply means is that it might increase voter participation and reduce disenfranchisement. So if you don't have your permanent voter card, you can download from website and then use it for vote. Then the timeline for submission of a candidate list. In the new provision, political parties must submit candidates 120 days before the election day. Initially, it was 180, so this has been shortened. Then publication of a candidate list by INEC. In the new provision, INEC must publish candidate list 60 days before the election. Before it was 150 days. Then talk about e-transmission of result, which is the bone of contention. The new provision says electronic transmission to IREVs is compulsory. However, if it fails, the physical result sheet ECHA becomes the primary source of collation and result declaration. And this is where Nigerians have been, talking about, how this might raise concerns about hierarchy and legality of electronically transmitted result. Then the final one is the mode of party primaries. In the new provision, only direct primaries and consensus are recognized. Political parties' guidelines will regulate direct primaries, not electoral act. Now, if you look at what could be the implication, indirect primaries have been removed. So it could change internal party power dynamics. So these are the things. So Tony, we begin with what happened yesterday at the floor of the House before we now delve into the real issues.
Well, we saw it coming. I remember I did say that this would take partisan shape, and what happened yesterday was where it was no more about Nigerians. It was about the political party you are from. Yes, I am aware that democracy is a game of number, is a situation where the majority will always have their way and the minority will have their say. That is democracy. It tells you it's all about number. But one would also ask, consciously, was that the case yesterday? And for those who maintained one position or the other in the whole brouhaha, did they do that in the interest of their constituents or in the interest of the party they are from? Many of them forgot one thing, that they are there to represent their constituents, not their party. The party is the platform through which you can represent their constituents. And whenever there is a clash between a party interest and constituents interest, the one of the constituents shall at all time superintend. It becomes supreme. Many of these people that went there yesterday at the House of Representatives during the whole drama, when the deputy speaker, who was the chairman of the House Committee on the Whole, many people were wondering, why did the deputy speaker took charge instead of the speaker? We have explained this many times. At this House of Representatives, based on the House rule, whenever the House converge into a committee of whole means everybody becomes a member of that committee. The deputy speaker becomes the chairman of that very committee. The speaker becomes an ordinary member. That's the only time when both of them will be together. The deputy speaker becomes chairman, the speaker becomes an ordinary member. But the moment the committee of whole is exhausted, the speaker becomes the speaker, deputy speaker goes back to his seat. That was why we saw Benjamin Carlo taking charge during the consideration of clauses at the committee of whole. But it's not so in the case of the Senate.
Okay, so perhaps this might have explained the many people are trying to read into what happened, because some people were asking questions, why was an Igbo man used to truncate the wishes of Nigerians?
It's ignorance. That's why we have this kind of program. It's ignorance. At the committee of whole, the deputy speaker becomes the chairman. That's the House rule. It is not so in the Senate. At the committee of whole at the Senate president still retains the chairman of the committee of whole. The deputy Senate president will be an ordinary member. That's the Senate. It has been like that since 1999. And in the House of Representatives, it has always been like that since 1999. We have this democracy we are practicing. So was not deliberate. It was never intentional. Nobody would say it was a case where Tajuddin Abbas was asked to use Benjamin Kalu to do whatever he did. No, it is one of the standing rules of the House. That is, by the way.
Now, let's talk about what he did, because people found fault in the way he tried to do the clause-by-clause consideration of those provisions. Perhaps, let's just take a small...
Okay.
Let's just listen to this, then we'll come back to
All
this.
right.
Yes. Honorable colleagues, the bill to be considered today has 156 clauses, and we are going to vote on them for them to become the parts of this legislation that governs our election in Nigeria. So I'll just put the question, having gone through it with you time and again. I'll put the question, clause 1 to 10. Clause 11 to 20. No. Clause 21 to 30.
Gary, point of order. Point of order. Point of order. Point of order. Point of order.
Clause 30 to 40.
Point of order. Mr. Chairman, you are not reading. If you want to know, point of order. Point of order, Mr. Chairman. You are not reading. Point of order. Point of order.
Yes.
Point of order. Point of order. No.
Clause 40 to 50.
You're supposed to read it line by line. Point of order.
50 to 60.
Point of order. Speaker, point of order. Point of order.
In that clause 60,
Speaker, point of order.
clause 61,
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Clause 62.
You need to read line by line, close by close.
clause 63,
Point of order. Point of order.
clause 63,
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. You're supposed to...
So, Tony, we have to cut it at this point in time so that we'll be able to manage our time. So, why we are members protesting, and at the same time, from the side of the Deputy Speaker, why the lumping in the clause-by-clause examination or clause-by-clause adoption?
Well, what the Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu did was not democratic, and it was unparliamentary. For me, if you are to consider the Electoral Act Amendment and Reenactment Bill 2026 as it were, and you want to look at the clauses, because the clauses are many, and possibly that's why he lumped them into from 1 to 10 and from 11 to 20, from 21 to 30. That's the way he wanted to do it. But as he was doing that, people were shouting point of order, and some were saying we can as well read these things line by line. For me, I thought that they should concentrate on the areas they amended. They did not amend all the electoral act. They were those in section, some of the ones you've read. They ought to have considered those ones and see if everybody agrees to the provisions as put together by the members of the electoral committee. That is one. So what he did was very undemocratic, very unparliamentary. He couldn't have done it that way. And he went on to be doing what he was doing, even when people were shouting point of order. It was a case where he's acting a script handed over to him by anybody. I don't know who could have given him the script, but from the look of things, it seems that the APC as a political party has given him a script to act, and he was adamant, he was bent to act it. Even when he knew that he would be called back, he has made up his mind that he would not look at any call to revisit what he was doing until people trashed the area where he was doing that and he felt threatened. That was when he stopped. So he couldn't have done it this way. The idea is, even if, just like I said earlier on, these things are not party things, they are constituent things. What do you think your constituents want? Many of them did not even consult their constituents. Many of them did not even call back to see if their constituents will agree with them. They are interested in coming back. And just like Ikimi said, many of them will be casualties because some governors in their states may frustrate your election. If a governor does not like you, and possibly he has access to some of these resources and security, he could jeopardize your coming back. You think you're helping Mr. President. Some of them don't even know this. But outside that, my major concern is, why did the House of Representatives, why did the Senate jettison what was put together by their committees on electoral matters? The Committee on Electoral Matters and the Senate put together electronic transmission real time without any manual backup. And even at that, the Senate also constituted an ad hoc committee to look into what the Committee on Electoral Matters, what they have done. And even the ad hoc committee concur with the Committee on Electoral Matters what have done. And remember, the Committee on Electoral Matters brought every stakeholder, brought Nigerians from diverse walk of lives, brought them together. INEC came, different groups, whether NGO, support group, political parties, were all invited. That was where Nigerians spoke at that level. Because sometimes people ask this question: how do you measure if Nigerians want real-time electronic transmission or not? How do you measure it? The answer I usually give was at the level of the Electoral Matters Committee, where they met Nigerians from diverse nations. They came together. Many of them presented papers. Many of them presented viewpoints. Many of them presented so many works they have put together, studies, research they have done. INEC did their own. Yaga Africa did their own. Everybody, APC, PDP, all the parties were present. Even stakeholders, students, even the security. Everybody spoke at that level. And it was put together that the best way to go is real-time transmission, electronic transmission. An ad hoc committee was set up by the Senate. Review all these things put together by the Senate Committee on Electoral Matters. Review them. The ad hoc committee now said what we saw was in tandem with what was presented. Now, only for the Senate to truncate it by jettisoning the ones they don't like, that do not suit their personal interests, and returning the ones that suit their personal interests. In other words, you jettisoned what Nigerians put together, because that work was work done by Nigerians. You, at the level of the committee, you jettison it, and then you decided to impose, using your office, using your position, using your influence, using your seat as a senator, what you think is best for you and best for your party. For me, it was not the...
So at this point, it's obvious that the will of Nigerians has been defeated.
That's what it means. That is the clear case. And would you say that this is representation? What is representation? Representation. Many of them.
So at this point, do you think that there's still any alternative or option available to Nigerians, what they can use to put a check on the election come 2027?
The only alternative we have now, because this is not representation. What I saw yesterday, it wasn't representation, because the representation, you are not going there to do your will. You are going there to do our will, the constituent will. That is why it's called representation. You are not there to represent yourself. You are representing a constituency. You are not even representing your political party. I've explained some of these things as they should be. But the key thing is, it is a sad reality. And I predicted this when we first looked into this. And I said, the House may find a way to bow to what the Senate has done and exactly what has happened. That is one. And also said that this will go into...
Was it a party influence? Because for the House to have gone back to review what it did initially and then align with what the Senate did, is it a party thing?
It's a party thing. If you look at the video, at a point, so many of them were calling, APC, come here, APC, come here, come and stand here. When issue of division was called at the House of Representatives, even when Abaribe called for division, it was purely a partisan thing. Many of the APC senators that supported electronic transmissions, because it has come to show yourself, because they are afraid of tickets. There's a way you go, the party may deny you ticket. It seems that the party has concluded in their own enclave that this is the way, but they have not made any public announcement on this, but we would also hold them on that brief, on that very thought. But the key thing is, what are these people afraid of? We have explained here, there is no need for manual backup because there is no room for such. Why? Because if you think there is no network, wherever the card or the beavers move to where there is network, these things will click. Why are you trying to?
Because what this means now is, with this manual backup is this: if eventually the result from the polling unit was not uploaded, okay, let's say result of polling unit A4, as an instance, wasn't uploaded, and they get to the point of collation, and there's no result on the IRF. Now, if the result in the form EC8A is adulterated or manipulated, it's going to be used to do collation.
The question is, who confirms such result is authenticity by adulteration? Anybody? We've seen, the idea of electronic thing is to give a room where human contact, human interface will mean nothing.
Because I was,
and it's more like giving.
I was thinking that in the case that we are going to go back to, the manual backup, that the chambers or the two chambers of National Assembly should have maybe devised another proviso that can put a guard against manipulation. Take for instance, I'm just thinking. Let's assume that we have a scenario whereby the result on the IRF, or at the point of collation, somebody brings a result sheet that looks like manipulated, and becomes questionable. In that very case, if the agent of party A or party B is objecting that this does not reflect actually what was the vote at the polling unit, there's no room created for the issues to be ventilated and dealt with before being tallied in the collation paper.
Yeah, it would have been wonderful if that is done, because we've seen situations whereby during the manual collation, some party agents will be protesting against a particular result. The result will be tallied and you'll be asked to go to court. And going to court, you know what it means. Leaving the whole thing to court. We are looking at a situation whereby we can reduce litigations coming out from any election. That's the idea of some of these things we're seeing. We've seen where this has placed us, where the will of the people is shortchanged. It becomes the will of the courts, where leadership is by courts. My concern is, we may think what we've done is right today. What about tomorrow? There's always tomorrow. If we had corrected this during the time of Muhammad Buhari, by now it would have been a different thing. Because of what we failed to do by giving these things some legal backup, that was why Supreme Court ruled on what it ruled, saying that it did not reflect the will of the people. And what Supreme Court sees as the will of the people is anything the parliament come up with. But would you say that what they did yesterday was the will of the people or the will of their political parties? My concern is where we are heading, where we are going.
Okay, let's just take a snippet of what happened at the floor of the Senate, because we took a snippet from the House of Reps, so that we can do a comparison, then wrap up on this and go into the next thing.
You stand up on your seat and you also raise your hand. So if you are in support that the proviso which enables the presiding officer to proceed to the next center for collation with the hard copy of the sign from EC8A, so that collation can continue. If you are in support that the word proviso remains to enable the presiding officer to do so after imputing all the items, can you rise and raise your hand so that the public can see you? Come and count. Only raise your hand. Don't open your mouth. Raise your hand. Stand up, raise your hand. Don't open your mouth so that the public can see you. Because the social media must see you. Now, we don't want to see those who are insisting that if it does not We want to see those who are saying if the transmission or communication fails, that the election stops there. Those opposed to the proviso, can you now stand up and raise your hand? Count. The results are as follows. Those who do not want any proviso are 15 in number. And those who want the proviso are 55 in number. And so the proviso says.
Okay. So, Tony, that was it on the floor of Senate yesterday.
Well, just like we noted earlier on, the Senate President said he wants those who are in support to be seen on social media so that it won't be a hypocrite. You will come here and then shout, and when you go on social media you say different things. So whatever you say on social media should be what will be seen here. A way of trying to tell those who are in that you are in. If you are out, you are out. That was his own tactics, and it worked for him. Now there was counting, and we know very well that when they descend into counting, it will always go this way. Many of these senators are concerned about their tickets coming back again, and everybody's watching. So if you had not been counted among those who would want the provisos to remain, it will mean that you are a saboteur, and you may be reminded of that by the time you buy nomination form and the expression of interest form. So some of these things are there. We have seen these things being used as a way to punish those who failed to support the cause of a political party. So there is no missing word that it was what the APC wanted and it was what they got, but it was never the wish of the people. It has turned out to be what it is. As it is now, you ask what alternatives. The only thing left, because they are going to package it, Nigerians, some of them have been protesting, and we must condemn the tear gassing of many Nigerians who have thrown the gate of National Assembly as a result of this issue of electronic transmission of election results real time. We must condemn it. Is condemnable. Using tear gas to disperse the crowd as a way of ensuring security or no breakdown of law and order is outrageous. It is barbaric. It is condemnable. I will not support that, because I've seen those protesters. They were not in any way causing violence, or they were not in any way trying to cause chaos. They have come to express their thoughts, telling the representatives they have over there, do what we want. Many of them have their representatives there. They have come to tell them, to remind them that the will of the representatives, the people, the will of the people must always outweigh the will of the party. That's what they have come there for. But nevertheless, the key thing is, where would this leave us? Many Nigerians do not turn up during elections. Many of them do not have confidence in the system. Many of them have lost confidence. Many of them do not show up. But we know very well, when things are not the way they should be, it becomes advantage to some who takes glory, who takes some kind of advantage from the whole chaos. The point is, it does not spell good for us. Let's do this in a way that human interfaces will be minimized, where everything will be transparently done. If you lose, you know you lose. If you win, you know you win. If you're popular, come and test this. That's what Nigerians want. National Assembly should not be a stumbling block. But INEC has come out to say that we, like the area council election, they have come out to say that the results will be transmitted electronically from the polling booth, that it will be done. But situations where it is not done, you cannot challenge it. That's the point. That's the essence of this legal status, so that it can be challenged when it is not done, either in court or anywhere. We have seen this practice. It worked in 2023, but we are told that we are glitches. Who introduced the glitches?
Okay.
We can always expand the broadband. I did a research on broadband system that uses IP, Internet Protocol address. I did extensive research on that. So I've said this thing many times. For us to save this democracy, to restore confidence, to restore hope, we must show sincerity of purpose in everything we do.
All right. Just to let you know that also yesterday, the Senate amended Clause 28 of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, reducing the mandatory notice period for election from 360 days to 300 days. So it's now for INEC to now sit down and see how it's going to review the timetable for 2027 election, so that it won't fall within Ramadan, just like some persons have.
We said this yesterday, they would
Yeah.
do that, but it's good that they've done that. So we are looking at the election coming up January next year, because that's the feasible period we've seen so far. So they're looking at January 16th for presidential elections.
Okay, so after this very commercial break, of course, we're going to look at one more thing. Maybe we'll take 2 minutes before we open the phone line, because the Obune Chende of Ezemolo Kingdom in Enugu State, Igwe Lawrence Agobozo, he made a statement yesterday, and that statement has meant two different things to some persons. To some persons, it was courage. To some others, it was a misused opportunity. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM.
Quality bread, Wendy's bread, for your family breakfast. Wendy's bread, how about you turn it to yellow? Wendy's bread, mama, papa, they like Wendy's bread, chicha, and do. Wendy's bread, even children, they like Wendy's bread. Wendy's bread, and in town. Wendy's bread, you get it better, tasty, we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread, Wendy's your bachichoma. Wendy's bread,
Wendy's bread, tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, Second Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza at Tani Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Yes, you're listening to The Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. It's now 10:29 a.m. and I will just take 2 minutes to talk about this. I told you about the Igwe Lawrence Agobozo, the Obunechendo of Ezemolo Kingdom in Enugu State, who made an appeal to Mr. President yesterday. But yesterday there was a national, traditional, and religious leaders summit on health in Abuja, and that summit was attended by Mr. President. He was there live during that very event, and this is what the traditional rulers asked the president. Hear him out.
Mohamed Pate and his team, we are now more committed. So the traditional rulers of Nigeria will now go home and work harder than before. But I must tell you, Mr. President, that personally, I don't feel very happy, because you were not here in the morning. There were several speeches. We listened carefully. I listened to the opening address by His Imperial Majesty, the Oni of Ife. And he was gingering all of us to work as a family, to work as a team, to see Nigeria as one. And then I felt maybe this is good. But when you look at it, this same Imperial Majesty is arranging to confer a very high honor on Sunday Igboho, who in my own part of Nigeria in the southeast, we see him as a counterpart of Nnamdi Kanu. And my brother, fellow royal father, the Imperial Majesty, does not seem to understand the pain in my heart when Nnamdi Kanu is in Sokoto. So, sir, the ball stops on your court. Bring this man out. If we don't want him in Nigeria, return him to Kenya or London, where they took him from. You see, some of us here have been asked to go and work, but the young people in the Southeast are so agitated. They can even beat us. They see us as sellouts. We come to Abuja, they may think we come to collect money. And then we keep quiet. So, sir, please do something about this. Do something about this.
Okay, so we have to check it at this point. What we play wasn't the full video, but we just played a snippet of what happened that very day. You needed to see how Mr. President laughed when he compared Kanu to Sunday Igboho. So, Tony, this request made by this traditional ruler, he has divided some persons from the Saudis. Some said it was courage for him to have looked the president in the face and made that very request. But some persons think that he missed an opportunity to ask for what could benefit the entirety of the Southeast. Tony?
Well, for Southeast, we know very well that we have been schemed out in many ways, in many equations, and have always called for playing the right politics. I've always said this. We will not miss that opportunity of playing the right politics. And this is exactly what I expect from the traditional rulers across Southeast as against the sit-at-home. What he did is advocacy, speaking to Mr. President. And we saw Mr. President the way he was laughing, and he also nodded when the traditional ruler, told him that the ball stops at his own court. Mr. President nodded, affirmed that yes, what he was saying is the reality. He has the whole power to free the young man. Yes, many of us here believe that there is no difference between Nnamdi Kanu and the Sunday Igboho. Both of them are secessionists. Both of them are agitators in their own ways, in their manners, in their methods, with similar methods. And many of them came hard on the Fulani headers. Many of them came so hard, and they activated whatever they activated when the governors couldn't do what they were supposed to do. But we can go on to also condemn certain things they did. They weren't perfect, no doubt. But we saw how they got themselves into this web. And Sunday Igboho, the owner of Ife, was reminded that he was planning to confer on him a chieftaincy title. I don't know if the one he will confer on him will be Ere Kakamfo. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But in any case, Nnamdi Kanu was also told to Mr. President that he's languishing in Sokoto prison. That is because they're from two different sides. Similar offenses the region differs. One is conferred chieftaincy title, one is in Sokoto prison. The truth remains that we must treat every Nigerian alike if we are to make progress. It wasn't a missed opportunity. We know very well that if some of these things are settled, Southeast will become a hub. We are calling on Mr. President on so many things. We want a thriving port in Southeast, either in Imo, Oguta, or Nature Dry Port. There are so many things he will do, even before he terms complex right politics. We must do the right politics because we have seen the diversity of this country. We've seen how things are configured. You don't feel entitled to anything because you're a Nigerian. We have seen how these things are configured. You do the right thing by playing the right politics, ensuring that we everywhere. We should be everywhere. There will be never any place that will be called that you will not find us. That's why I've said this to our people. Be everywhere. That is the kind of politics I want us to play. We cannot aggregate one side. So if what happens, you will be found nothing. No, we have to be everywhere. So the traditional ruler spoke the minds of many Southeasterners yesterday. And Mr. President nodded. So the pressure, you keep pressuring. For us to say we are one Nigeria, whatever happens to Sunday Boho should also be seen to happen to Nnamdi Kanu.
Okay, so we're going to open the phone lines now. Please, when you call in, take 1 minute. Biko, take 1 minute, make your call and drop your call. Just articulate your thoughts very well so that we'll be able to get more people. Though the likes of the Sunday Diary, they have tried to say that the case of Kanu is not the same as case of Iboho. They said that the two of them do not have a basis for comparison. Maybe that could be a discussion for another day.
We'll have to argue that. They have.
Hello, good morning. Okay. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yes, your name?
Yeah, my name is Basil. We're calling you from Onitsha.
Go on, Mr. Basil.
Thank you. Giving us 1 minute is better, so people shouldn't exceed this 1 minute.
Right.
My submission is what happened to what this man Igwe said. It's right. He's right. He just said the mind of everybody in this Southeast. He just said it all. There's no way you can separate Sunday Igboho with Nnamdi Kanu. Different justice with the same problem. That is what Nigeria is. And if we keep on, if other people start saying this way, I think our president will listen to many people, many voices. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Basil. I appreciate this fact that you were able to be succinct and direct to the point. Good morning.
Good morning, my sister.
Good morning, your name?
Franklin. The voice of Honorable Mayor Okulola Otendon Mogi, JP. Since there is no time, please let me first of all plead to you. I have said it before. Please.
Hello. Hold on first. Please hold on. Do the right thing. Walk away from your radio set.
Okay. I have done just that.
All right, please just go to the point. Go to the point. We've taken notes.
The management.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. Your name?
Yeah, Frank.
Yes.
Maroke, calling from Monitor.
Maroke, how are you doing?
Good morning. I'm fine. Good morning to Tony Zambet.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
In fact, I must acknowledge that His Royal Highness, his name needs to be told. I'm telling you the truth. In fact, they should crown this particular man the Igwe of Igbo. I know why I'm saying this. Because what he said there is so much, it's so courageous. Many of them cannot even stand in front of Mr. President to say this. No matter how simple you see that thing is. But he stands and even compare Iboho and then Nandekal, which many cannot even try. In fact, he just did the needful. So to me, I am saying that man should be crowned as a Igbo or Igbo. That is what I want to say. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Maroke. Hello, good morning.
Thank you.
Yes.
Frankly.
You're welcome on board.
Mr. Speaker, good morning.
You're welcome.
This is Honorable Monday Johnson. Let me start by saying that I grew up to hear that democracy means the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. I understand that
government under democracy should be people-centered government. But what we are seeing today, from what has played out in the National Assembly, is proving me wrong. And I want to make a passionate appeal. Mr. Speaker Franklin, please extend this appeal to the appropriate quarter. That name, National Assembly, should be changed. Because my opinion is not represented in that place. In fact, it's a big offense for Jews of Carlo not to have picked my own call when I called him. It's a big offense.
All right.
In fact, it annoyed me. Franklin, should I stop?
Yes.
Thank
yes.
you.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for understanding. Thank you very much. I appreciate these gestures. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay.
This is Monday speaking.
Monday, you are close to a radio set.
Okay.
All right.
Hello.
Yes, Monday, you are... Monday, where are you calling from?
From Inewi.
Go on, Mr. Monday.
Yeah, that Igwe that made that comment that Sunday Igbo is a consultant of Nnamdi Kanu. Igwe is the right man, and God should bless himself. Get the point. God should bless himself. Now, if they want, that's what Nigeria is speaking of. They should remove Nnamdi Kanu and send it to Kenya. When you send it to Kenya, then justice will stand. Then we cannot save on Nigeria. Thank you. That's my take.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. This is Casey Shoes calling from Asaba, commercial driver.
Okay, what did you say is your name?
Good morning to you all. In respect of so-called honorable members, there is nothing honorable about them. They are just being astute, being clever in those laws, in this election uploading. It's just organizing. They are just punishing us. I'm sure. I felt there's a certain politician I do listen in those days. He said nothing works in Nigeria. Now, absolutely nothing works. I pray it works one day because as I'm listening to you, I'm weeping. I'm weeping profusely. And in the aspect of the Igwe, oh my brother, it takes the strong-hearted to say what he said. I drop my heart for him. He's a very clever and good man. May God bless you all.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate all these gestures very much. Trying to speak within time. I quite appreciate this. Good morning.
Chief Dr. Tony Obona, good morning.
You're welcome.
Franklin Ebuka, my dear brother, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Just go on.
I am greeting Elia Fatego, cruising the airwaves from Osmo. That is the problem of Nigeria. A whole president of Nigeria comparing Mazin Nnamdi Kanu with Sunday Igboho. What an aberration. Can the president compare Sunday Igboho with Sowore? If Sowore has not compromised, why did Sunday Igboho compromise? And the original Mazin Nnamdi Kanu to some pedal and meet the president so that what type of comparison is that? Though when I was in school, I was given to compare Jesus Christ and Julius Caesar. There is nothing you cannot compare. But then, who is comparing? Who is adjudicating? I mean, who is adjudicating? President of Yoruba. Sunday of Yoruba. Now, let me tell you, it is a part of the marginalization we're talking about. All of them can remain uncompromisable. No matter what you think, no matter what you do. Kanu said, three things are left for a genuine freedom fighter. It is either you go to jail, or you are dead, or you are in prison.
All right.
He knew, and he still remains on all those things till today.
All right. All right. Thank you. Please just note that why you have the freedom to talk within 1 minute. I'm also timing you here. So please take note of all these things. Hello, good morning. Okay. Good morning. Your name?
My name is Anthony Mecheta.
Okay, Mr. Anthony.
Mr.
Anthony, go on.
Are you hearing me, please?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay. I want to first of all hail Igwe Orange Akubuzo, the Igwe of Olo Kingdom. The statement, I watched it yesterday, and it is a demonstration of pragmatism and courage. You know, several of you politicians have we see them making statements about the release of Nnamdi Kanu just to sound politically correct. But the way this Igwe sandwiched the matter of Nnamdi Kanu succinctly in the glaring view of Mr. President and the charging of everybody, even all the emirs and so on, they were against on how this man sandwiched the matter of Nnamdi Kanu. For me, it is laudable, it is courageous, and I know that the message drives into the president. So for me, it's a laudable one. That Igwe should be conferred with an honorable recognition in Igbo land. Because of he was not political, he was even opposed to the suggestion given by Onioki.
All right, Mr. Anthony, your time is up.
To the traditional ruler for them to go in their various domains.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Anthony. Please try to understand me. Thank you very much. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
Yeah, my name is George.
Go on, Mr. George.
To start with, I would say that kudos to that monarch from Enugu for deeming fit on the presence of the president. I'm telling you what people are the hungry for, those people that always went to go and visit Mr. President, to have that negotiation and that discussion with Mr. President. This is what we are expecting. Because I would say that 89% youth and people of Southeast really need Nnamdi Kanu to be released. Today, we have seen everything found out in the court, and we all have agreed that what we expected is a solution. Since then, they are being in prison. How long are the people at least started initiating that political solution? We have not seen it. So I would say kudos to the king, at least for the ministry, for the president, not even a message, not even a letter. The president is there in person. When I saw the video this morning, I was there. Whether it is a old video, but I look, I know that I just a recent video. So the president was there live.
All right.
Listen to him.
Josh.
No matter what, today, he has got some debation. At least on the day I came out and said that the whole situation is different from Mazuna and the Kanu own. Fine and good. That is kind of discussion that we want to hear. So everything.
All right.
Thank you. The government see that this is what they will do.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you for your opinion. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Francis.
Yes, your name?
My speaker, I'm Akamere.
Go on, Mr. Akamere.
Yes, Akamere is calling from Fiji.
All right, sir.
I want to react on that monarch that made all those statements yesterday. I appreciate that monarch, but I want to come to this and see, many of our governors have gone to the president for the release of Mazuna and the Ghana. Even the last man that died, Mbazurike or thereabouts, during last administration, he went to the president Buhari to ask for, give him my last wish, release this man to us. They didn't even do it. And I don't think that what this monarch has said yesterday will allow this to release Nnamdi Kanu just because he's an Igbo man. That is the kind of marginalization we are talking about here. And even Southeast is from Yoruba land. You see all these seaports and all these things we are talking about. Just because they know that if they do it here, this place will be developed. And all this is what is, angered many of us. They will just be there telling us we are one Nigeria, but in a reality, there is nothing one in this country. In fact, I bleed for this country.
Right, thank you. Okay, thank you. So let's go to our Facebook page now. From Dr. Miss Simon Lebra from Oweresh. She says, as we begin this Lenten and Ramadan seasons, let's place our needs, fears, hopes, and lives in God's hands. A fast is a personal act of devotion to God. Through prayer, we seek to give up self and open ourselves up before God. Lent is a season of soul searching, repentance, reflection, and stock taking. May God help us, because sometimes, as humans, the journey we take in following Jesus is not light. Thank you, Dr. Missimo Lebera. Sebastian Igwe says, what is happening in our political space as regards to the electoral bill amendments is really unfortunate. The question remains, is it a cause being a Nigerian, or we are the cause in all these unwholesome developments all around us? It's really unfortunate that those expected to represent us are just there to represent themselves. As a matter of fact, any attempt to nail the electronic transmission of election result is nothing but a coup to our democracy. And Cheluze Prince says, okay, my take is on recalling Honorable Udemezu back to the house, and he's asking, Tony, about your analysis. You said the drugs he took has left him, and he has now retraced his step. So he's saying that you need to prove that he took drug. Then Azubike and Ibog Valentine, okay, thank you for the commendation. We appreciate you. He posted from Obahokija. Also, Francis Maganaman, if watching from Mamagunzi in Enugu State. He says that the combination of electronic transmission of results and manual backup, which is against the wishes of Nigerians, is a mockery of our democratic process. And he adds that the incessant abductions, attacks, and killings in the country are becoming worrisome, disturbing, and nothing to write home about. And he's asking which way Nigeria. He is also asking government at all levels to rise up to this very challenge. Master A from Onitsha says the U.S. Army trainers in Nigeria should be encouraged to visit other states of the Federation, especially Benue, particularly Idoma area, to reduce insecurity and impact terrorism and the bandits' technical knowledge to well-behaved security combatant officers. Okay, because our current intelligence gathering by so-called intelligence officers. Okay. Ika will go. All right. Thank you. Please, next time, at least if you can help, so that we'll be able to articulate your post in a way that it will be very comprehensible to every one of us. Then Obina Collins, thank you for posting. Chidebere Francis Nwafo says he posted from Obosi and is asking what is the site to download the digital voter card. Well, let me even say that you can't even get it now because the law hasn't even been operationalized. It hasn't even been signed. So by the time it's signed into law, of course, INEC will tell us how to go about that very one. Then Ekegona says the Igwe did the right thing and needs to be commended by other traditional rulers. Okay, thank you, Ekegonas, for joining us. Amara Michael Anocha says, I'm a Wifi Mike from Blessed Land of Rising Sun War. Please, who will help me to send a bottle of champagne to the king? Okay, according to you, he represented the Igbo nation very well. Okay, so Tony, these are the reactions we have on our Facebook page. And then, just a quick question before we summarize. So, this fact that National Assembly has amended the timeline for issuance of election notice and timetable from 360 to 300 days. So, if INEC eventually reviews this election timetable, how would it stand before the law? Because the first timetable was issued based on Electoral Act of 2022, and now Senate has amended. Maybe by next week or 2 weeks, in 2 weeks' time, they might send the amended one to the president. He's going to sign. So can INEC base the adjustments on the one that is yet to be amended?
Signed by the president.
Yes, exactly.
I think INEC will not do anything until it's assented to by Mr. President. So they are waiting. But we know very well that if the Electoral Act amendment and reenactment bill is sent to Mr. President will give it utmost priority until then, INEC will not do anything. So the time INEC and the president signs it, INEC will release a new timetable. So we are not going to see any new timetable until Mr. President signs this into law. INEC will now, based on that very act, which has become law, then publish a new timetable.
So do you see us having a legal challenge on this? Since the process has started based on the 2022 Electoral Act, and then midway an amendment comes, and we now begin to work with the amended Electoral Act.
There's no legal challenge. On what ground are you challenging because you're going to challenge it based on the amendment that must have been made. So, being that the amendment bill has not been assented to Mr. President, INEC will not do anything. If INEC goes on to publish any timetable in relation to the amendment, it will be challenged because it's not law. So by the time it becomes law, they will base their actions on the law. So if you go to court, on what ground? You will challenge on the ground of law. And where the law says they can do that, what will be a ground again? My concern is that we must do the right thing. The advocacy will continue. I know many people, I saw Chuwere and his colleagues, and many of them are saying they will do this. The advocacy, the pressure, maybe people would also want to continue to do that. But what I'm seeing is the finalized version of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill and reenactment. It will be sent to Mr. President. So what we have now is that we're going to have the manual backup, but expect, some of these glitches. Somebody may disrupt the internet that day. And if you disrupt the internet to give room for a manual, we'll keep serving the generations unborn that way because it's going to be crazy. But we will tell INEC and even those network providers, they must be wary of some of these elements that will want to disrupt network infrastructure. There will be a time on this very program we will give you everything you should know about network, how it operates, and things you should know about that. And for Sunday, Dare, comparing or saying these two persons cannot be compared. One is this.
Perhaps tomorrow.
Probably we'll look at that
tomorrow.
All right.
All right. So thank you everyone for listening, and thank you Tony Olisambeki. Thank you those who posted on our Facebook page. You can, just let you know that you can visit our website www.radioudala.com. Go to the website and see things for yourself. Anybody want to check out on the website, you can see the profile there. Thank you all for listening. My name is Franklin Ebika. Good morning.
You're listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.